Yvain and the Lady of the Fountain by Jacob E. Simmons. Adapted and revised from the 12th century text by Chrétien de Troyes. With original music composed and produced by the author. Dedicated to all the friends and mentors who made this work possible, and to the timeless virtues of innocence, goodness, and above all, true love. Act 1. Arthur, the good king of Britain, held a rich and royal feast on that precious day of Pentecost. The court was at Cardwell in Wales, and many splendid knights and damsels had attended. When the meal was finished, the knights hastened to engage the maidens, sharing tales of their adventures and heroic exploits. There was one among them, though, who held his tongue, the young Calogrenant, who had hoped to keep the story of his latest adventure a secret from the rest. However, after much cajoling by his peers that evening, he was finally persuaded to break his silence, and a small circle gathered round to hear. Though the king had retired early to his chamber, the queen remained restless. Overhearing the knights' conversation, and eager to hear the tale herself, she resolved to join them. Moving stealthily toward the men, she slipped into their midst, and together they listened intently as the young knight recounted his adventure.
It happened 1 year past. As I was making my way in search of adventure, I had wandered the forest of Broceliande with only my steed and arms, when I came upon a tiny village of Roman make. It was there I learned of a curious legend spoken of by the villagers. Hidden deep within the nearby forest, they said, lay a wondrous fountain, which, by the power of its enchanted waters and the performance of an ancient rite, could summon an unnatural storm, even on the clearest of days. Of course, I resolved to witness such a thing myself, and after resting a night in the village, I set out the following morning.
For truth, a magic fountain. Was the legend true, cousin?
Yvain, let the lad speak. I suspect he shall tell us in due time. Do go on, Calogrenant.
Aye, Lord Yvain. After following the path I had been instructed to, I came upon a great tree, and in its shadow, a glimmering fountain that bubbled over at its center. Nearby, a basin hung from one of the tree's branches, and so I dismounted and took hold of it to perform the ritual as I had been instructed. Now I had learned that to summon the storm, one must simply fill a cup with fountain water and pour it upon a certain rock within the pool. After doing just that, I awaited a spectacle, and sure enough, the clouds grew dark in an instant, and the most harrowing tempest I have ever seen pelted me and my steed with rain and hail. As I crumpled to the ground, shield raised overhead, I prayed God would call off nature's wrath. Then, all at once, the storm relented, and the sound of birdsong filled the air, as they gathered atop the trees to sing a wondrous melody.
I applaud you, Calogrenant. To have found such a marvel is no small feat.
Aye, what a tale indeed. Why is it only now that you have deigned to share it with us?
Well, that is because of what happened next. While the birds sang their song, I thought I had heard the sound of a rider in the distance, and with each passing moment the noise grew louder as it approached. A sense of dread swept over me then, as the cry of his steed echoed through the woods like a devilish wind in the night. In an instant, I was back atop my mount and ready for a fight. I could see my opponent had already begun to charge me without a word, and so I spurred my steed to meet him in a joust. As we clashed together, I thrust my spear with all that was in me, but this knight seemed as though he was made of stone. He shrugged off my blow as though it were nothing, while his strike sent me flying backward, landing face down in the grass. There I lay, having lost all feeling from the neck down, waiting helplessly as the villain dismounted and came to finish me. Instead, he simply flipped me onto my backside with a nudge of his foot, looming over me like a shadow with the sun at his back. As I gazed up at his helmet's red plume, my vision blurred and my mind faded. When I came to, the sun was setting. He had made off with my steed and left me for dead, or erred in thinking he had witnessed my passing. Once I could move again, I shamefully retraced my steps and returned to the village. Eventually, I made my way back to Cornwall and told not a soul of what had happened.
By my word, cousin, how could you have kept this a secret for so long? Upon my honor, I would see your disgrace avenged.
Lord Yvain, you are an inspiration. What joyous news it is to hear that our comrade shall have justice after a year of suffering. Please tell us when you are ready to set out, and we shall not be far behind. I will tell the squires to unfurl the banners, and we can ride out this very evening, in fact. Armorica is only a few weeks' journey from here. Surely that'll be enough time to sober up from tonight's festivities.
The devil, Kay! Cursed be your venomous tongue. Have you such scorn for your own allies?
Queen Guinevere, I did not realize you had joined us. Forgive our poor manners in failing to welcome you. As to your question, my lady, I do not believe I have said anything that should injure these fine men. After all, a knight ought to be made of firmer stuff than to fall to a few cutting words.
Truly, my lady, his impudence matters not to me. My Lord Kay may mock if he wishes, but nothing shall stop me from seeing it through. I vow to seek out this mystic fountain and punish the one responsible for dishonoring my young cousin. God is my witness.
Hail, the king approaches.
Husband, you are awake at last. Come and sit beside me, my lord. You must hear the story of Calogrenant's discovery.
By grace. What a tale indeed. Well done, Calogrenant. Worry not of having lost a single joust. I am simply glad you returned to us unharmed.
Sire, you honor me.
Hear this. I shall lead an expedition to witness this wondrous fountain and its unearthly storm. Let any foe who attacks unjustly contend with the righteousness of our kin, the order of the Knights of the Round Table.
Huzzah!
The king's declaration does me no favor. This mystic fountain is the least of my concerns. If that robed knight should present himself when our party arrives, no doubt Gawain or Kay will be the one to whom the honor of a duel is granted. Then what glory would there be for Yvain? I shall go alone. It should take them nearly a fortnight to prepare for such a journey. By then I could already have obtained proof of my vow's fulfillment. Whoever this vagabond knight is, I need only behorse him and return with his steed to prove justice was done. I should act quickly, though. If the others learn of my intentions, they may try to dissuade me.
Yvain set out on his adventure as soon as he was able, packing what supplies were needed and arming himself for the fight he expected. For 2 weeks, his noble steed Haol carried him no less than 10 leagues a day, and after crossing the narrow sea, he arrived at the woods of Broceliande. There he found the village of which Calogrenant had spoken, and was treated in like manner by its kindly folk, enjoying a warm bed for the night. The next day, after following the directions of the villagers, he finally encountered the mysterious fountain.
By grace, there is a strange feel about this place, as if the wood itself hides some ancient secret. I have never met with more tranquil a scene. It seems a shame such peace should be disturbed by summoning a storm. And yet I suspect our foe will not be drawn out without it. Let us dither no longer. Ready yourself, Heol. Steady! So it is past. And there are the birds with their song, as Calogrenant said. And I expect that would be our opponent. Right. Let us greet him the way he did our comrade, eh? Ha!
As the two knights caught sight of one another, each raced toward his foe, lances readied for the impending clash. Amid the trees, the pair met with such resounding force that the shields they each bore were pierced, and their lances splintered to pieces. Still mounted, each drew his sword, and the duel continued. The two battled fiercely, neither giving an inch. And as the fight raged on, it was unclear who the victor would be.
Yield, villain, or I shall hold back no longer. Have you nothing to say? Then let God decide which of ours is the just cause.
The fighting persisted until fatigue began to sap the wordless knight of his earlier swiftness. Seizing the opportunity, Yvain delivered a crushing blow to his enemy's helmet, leaving him momentarily stunned. Only then did the two break apart from one another, Yvain allowing him respite in anticipation of a surrender. Though it seemed for a moment his opponent would recover, it was soon clear the knight was gravely wounded. With a hand to his head and struggling to stay mounted, he fled the field, leaving Yvain dumbfounded.
How is it that so valiant a knight would depart in such fashion? Had I no need for a token of this victory, I would be obliged never to see him again. Alas, it is not so. Away, Heol! We shall give chase and demand he pay tribute as punishment for his misdeeds.
Yvain followed the rider out the woods and through a small town, bathed in the red of sunset. Quickly he spied the fortress to which his quarry was headed, and spurred his steed for a final push. Desperate to catch his foe before he could be locked out, and blinded by ambition, he neglected to consider the iron-barred gate closing behind him. The two riders reached the fort in quick succession, but just as Yvain breached the gateway, the heavy portcullis came crashing down, its devilish teeth slamming into his mount with devastating force. Yvain himself was thrown to the ground, and with dazed eyes he watched as his enemy continued up a hilled path and through a second gate which closed behind him. Stunned by the loss of his steed and realizing the recklessness of his pursuit, it suddenly dawned on him. He was now trapped inside the fortress walls.
Thank you for listening to this little play of mine here on YouTube. If you'd like to hear more, you can click the link in the description to find the rest of Act 1, available on all major streaming platforms. Yvain has been a passion project of mine for over a year now, and there's much more to come. Act 2 is scheduled for release before the end of 2025, and Act 3, the finale, will follow in early 2026. Any support you can give through the project's GoFundMe is deeply appreciated and goes directly toward the play's completion. Thanks again for listening.